Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now that all of the film has been watched and the grades are finalized, it's time to break down the 2019 NFL Draft prospect rankings. Before we dive into the prospect rankings video, let's take a look at how we go about grading these guys on film. For the skill positions, we take a look at a prospect's best and worst games statistically and the best matchup before we finalize his film grade. And from there, the player is assigned a grade on a 100-point scale. We don't believe in the term backup per se. If you're in the NFL, you're one of the best players at your position, so we consider you a starter in waiting, or at least that's how I would look at it if I'm a GM or a head coach. So without further ado, let's dive into the video with our number one graded prospect at the position. Paris Campbell of Ohio State earned the top slot receiver spot in our rankings this year. What's impressive about his game is how athletic he is for a 6'3" wideout. Campbell's athleticism, in conjunction with his elite level track speed, makes him very dangerous on any type of crossing route or route where he's asked to run away from coverage. Playing him inside helped him blossom into a true threat and game breaker this season at Ohio State, as opposed to trying to force him into an outside receiver role. Polishing his route running is where he'll have to grow his game as a pro, but you can easily see him as a day one impact player inside at the next level. I love the slot receiver class this year. A lot of versatile talent inside. Terry Godwin out of Georgia is as explosive as Campbell. He's a player that's fast in all directions. We saw that at the East-West Shrine game. Both Deebo Samuel of South Carolina and A.J. Brown of Ole Miss are also guys that I feel as though are day one impact players in the slot. Samuel reminds me a lot of Jarvis Landry, while Brown is more along the lines of Quincy Enunwa, and that's able to bully defensive backs before, during, and after the catch. Olamide Zaccheaus out of Virginia and Jacoby Myers of NC State are a couple of talented wideouts from the ACC that have that versatility that you look for on the inside. There is a quartet of small college wide receivers to make our top 10. Let's start with Samford's Kelvin McKnight. The 5'8", 186-pounder finished the season with 100 receptions for over 1,400 yards, getting better each and every season out there at Samford. McKnight possesses A+ agility and elusiveness to be a dangerous threat inside. He was also a problem in the opener against Florida State, hauling in 6 receptions for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. He instantly helps you out in the return game as well as a rookie. Speaking of the return game, Deontay Harris of Assumption College is arguably the quickest player in the draft in my opinion. Those highlights you're seeing right now are not sped up. This is how fast and explosive he is with the football in his hands each and every time he touches it. I guess you can say if Darren Sproles was a full-time receiver, he'd be Deontay Harris. I do feel as though he's the best returner in the draft and can serve many roles on an offense as a rookie. Justin Christian out of Marist averaged 25 yards a catch last season and scored 15 touchdowns. He was also a standout at the College Gridiron Showcase this past January. Christian made a living underneath as a collegiate player, effortless in his release off the line of scrimmage. He could also see himself serving in that same role as a pro or even outside as a flanker. He's another one of these wideouts that'll test well during the pro day circuit. And Davion Davis of Sam Houston State has a lot of polish in his game, thanks in part to playing in that Bearcat offense. He's elusive, athletic, and has the pristine route running ability that you want coming from that particular level of football. He's another one of these receivers like Christian who could see his role expand to outside duties because of his extensive experience at Sam Houston State. He scored 10 touchdowns in only 8 games this year, having scored 17 the previous year and 10 the year before that. One thing for sure, he knows how to score the ball once it's in his hands. Andy Isabella out of UMass checks in at number 11 as we check out the rest of the top 20. Isabella has legit track speed and is a frustrating player to cover if you're on defense. He just has to continue to get stronger as he moves forward. John Yusura of Hawaii plays a game like a 10-year vet. He has a ton of savvy and a complete understanding of how to attack zone coverage. I think Jeff Smith of Boston College has a ton of upside. The former quarterback is still learning the nuances of the position, but became a very productive player at receiver for BC. I'm a big fan of his game. I'm also a fan of Western Connecticut State's Austin Calamita. He caught my attention down at the College Gridiron Showcase, and I made a point to go back and watch his film for my prospect evaluations. He's a guy that has a great sense of leverage in the sense of how to use it and also how to attack it. His acceleration and rack skills, in my opinion, translate well to the next level, and it's because of that I think he'll have a home inside as a pro. Rounding out our slot receiver rankings with prospects 21 through 25, Terran Ankalad out of Tulane and Ryan Davis out of Auburn are players that have the ability to score from anywhere on the field. So can Sean Brown of Arizona, who's another dynamic returnman in this draft class. And speaking of returnmen, Devontae Dedmon of William & Mary was one of the best in the FCS, was also one of the best receivers as well, especially a few seasons ago, but injuries have derailed the last 2 seasons for him. However, despite missing a few games last year, Dedmon still led the team in receiving and scored 6 touchdowns, and if his injuries are behind him, someone would get themselves a steal come April. So that's a wrap here from the Football Game Plan Studios. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast. We can find our Scout Team podcast, which has a lot of 2019 NFL Draft prospect interviews. And also be sure to subscribe on YouTube to the Football Game Plan Network, located at youtube.com/footballgameplan.